Welcome back to the Quality Matters Applying the Rubric training. Now we are at the course review process. So I would like you to take 10 seconds, take a look at what you see on the screen, and start to ideate what you think this is and what do you think it means. Great. So can anybody give me just any thoughts that come to mind when you see this? Yeah, it's a circle. All the arrows are pointing in this direction. So what does that mean? Absolutely, it's continuous. It's a continuous process. So here at our university, we have a continuous process for improvement as well, and QM has their continuous process for improvement. Ultimately, the goal is that all courses eventually meet QM expectations and become QM certified. One thing we should think about throughout this workshop is that QM is both a rubric and a process, both under constant continuous improvement to become the best product. And we'll go into greater depth about this later in the workshop. So next, about the QM Higher Education rubric. First, there are 8 main sections of the rubric. 8 general standards, and they're all noted in blue. While we're sitting here about to get on this rubric, if you could take out your books and open up to 1.1, and we'll start there. Just so you can kind of see that dynamic of how the rubric is laid out on these pages. So, back to this rubric. 8 main sections, 44 specific review standards, and they're distributed over those 8 general categories. As you see, we have the 8 general standards on our screen. What you notice first, in your QM workbook, the first thing you'll notice is that specific review standard that is to the left. That next column is the point value associated with that standard. The last column is the annotation, and the annotation may take a page and a half. Typically, it may start on that first page and linger into the second. Another thing you'll notice is that specific alignment review standards have the word alignment symbol in the workbook in red. And you'll find that on 2.1, 2.2, and we'll kind of talk a little more about that in the next slide. Remember, this is a holistic approach. So QM is using this so that all of these pieces can be put together to build a fundamentally sound course. Remember, when you are baking a cake, some of you are great chefs in that respect, great bakers in that respect. The recipe is very straightforward. You use the correct measurements, you use the correct ingredients, you get the cake exactly how you envision it. Obviously, reviewing an online course is not that simple. It is a bit more complex in that nature. So you can have something that is really great. You can have one great ingredient or 2 great ingredients, but if they don't align, if they don't go together, you will not have a quality course. So these are things that we should be thinking about. So this moves us to the key elements that must align. What you see on the screen, what we call here is the house of alignment. A great way of putting it, because every piece of this house is important for a course to fully align. Every piece goes together. When you're building a house, you have your foundation, you have all the wood that goes into the house, the pipes that have to be run, the electrical system, the roof that goes on top. All of these, the joints that go in the house, all of these aspects makes the house strong and it makes it livable. And within that same nature of this alignment house, all these elements of alignment make sure that it is strong and that the alignment aspect of a course is strong. These alignment standards specifically refer to 2.1, 2.2, 3.1, 4.1, 5.1, and 6.1. Specifically, learning objectives. When we talk about those learning objectives, course and module objectives. Then you get into your assessments. Do those assessments measure what those learning objectives are? Do they align back to those learning objectives and ultimately the course objectives? Do the instructional materials support student learning in that capacity? Do the learning activities support student learning in that capacity? And do the course tools and technology, do they help support that learning as well and the achievement of those learning objectives? Remember that alignment is indicated with the red word. So in your workbook, if you move to 2.1 or 2.2 or any of the standards shown, you will see the word alignment under it in red. Remember, these are key aspects, and if a course does not meet these alignment pieces, a course will not be certified. So what I'd like you to do next, in your folders, you have a handout. Handout is structure of a QM, specific review standard, annotation. Please take that handout out. I'll give about 10 seconds to parse through that folder to get that. Are we good? Thumbs up for those that? Perfect. So for those who have it out, I know there are a few still moving, but I'll kind of walk through this. We're looking at specific review standard 1.1. This standard states instructions make clear how to get started and where to find various course components. This is an essential specific review standard in the QM rubric. So what you'll notice, and as you have that annotation out, what you'll notice there, and what we'll talk about specifically in our course design, that there are many ways to meet this standard. And your LMS plays a part, but your design is the biggest piece. Some people will put a start here button so it's clear. In our template, we have a start here module that houses all of this information. So think about how this can be applied to your course and what information should go in that module. All things considered with us, what things should go in that module to ensure your students have everything they need to get started in this course. As you evaluate this, always keep in mind, does it provide clear directions for how learners are to get started in your course? We want to make sure that they have everything they need to get started. So, as we take a jump, we're going to hop into that demo course of ours. So, first thing we'd like you to do, first log into the course. And you have all the directions to log in. Now that you are logged in, imagine that you are a new learner, new to the course, new to the discipline or the learning management system. And then I want you to answer these questions on the screen. And think about it, as you're reviewing this demo, you're taking this from the learner perspective. Remember, this isn't, as a faculty who may be very well versed in the LMS and well versed in this, we're taking this from a student perspective. It's our first time seeing this. This may be my first class back in college. Specifically speaking to our population, we have a lot of adult learners, a lot of non-traditional learners who are returning back to school. And we want to make sure that this is user-friendly, student-friendly. So I'll give about 10 more seconds for that, and then we will move forward. So, here's my question to you. Please raise your hand. I'll do show of hands. Please raise your hands if you think that this standard is met by show of hands. Okay, perfect. Show of hands if you think the standard is not met. Okay, all right. So, from somebody who thinks this standard is met, please look into that annotation. Based on that annotation, provide me evidence of why you think this was met. Okay. Are there any areas of improvement? Even though it's met, we always want to make sure we are providing areas of improvement. Are there any areas of improvement that you would do to make this even more clear? Okay. I can accept that as well. So, let's hold that thought. Do I have any people that say this is not met? Okay, please, based on the annotation, give me some evidence to support your decision. And if it's not, and then also give me some suggestions that you think will help improve it to get it to being met. Okay. Okay, perfect. So, I want you to know the consequences of this. Now that everybody's had a chance to share your opinion. Has anybody changed their mind now that you have thought about what your colleagues have said in this space? Okay, so a few people have changed to met, some people have said not met, and that's fine. And remember, this is a collective process. Remember, when you're on a peer review team, the peer review team will have 3 people on there, and there's no absolute right or wrong answer. It's a very subjective process because some people will deem things to be not met and have adequate evidence. Some people will deem things to be met, have adequate evidence. But when you're thinking of this, there's always a chance to improve this course. There are always going to be aspects that can be improved. So you always want to think about that for your suggestions of improvement. Also, one thing you need to consider is the consequences of your decision. What does a met decision mean? Remember, when something is met, you must provide evidence to support your decision. You're not required to provide suggestions if it's met, but remember, continuous improvement. We always want things to improve if there are ways to improve. And remember, something only needs to be met at the 85% mark. So it may still have errors here and there, but as long as it meets that 85% mark, it can be marked as met. If you decide something is not met, you're still required to provide both evidence and then a suggestion for improvement, because that suggestion for improvement will help get them to being met. When they revise this, if they go into the time when they have to revise their course, and it's losing me right now, but if they have to go into the time where they have to revise their course, they will need that information to revise it. So, just kind of reminding you, if you decide something is met, suggestions for improvement are optional, but continuous improvement. If you decide something is not met, suggestions for improvement are mandatory. They have to know how they can make this better. Any questions? Awesome. Thank you.